Hi, welcome to Milk and Honey Heritage Farms. Today I'm going to take you along and we're going to make some plum jam. So come along with me and let's get this going. So I'd already started my sauce and it's been getting warmed up in there, but I'll show you step by step how to do the process. And I am following the Ball Blue Book Preserving Canning book. This is going to be, I'm going to water bath can this process. So what you do is you take your plums, if you can get some plums right now in your area or from a store or farmer's market. And it's got how I do, you can do it however you want. There's kind of like a little seam, if you want to call it. You can't really see it, but anyways, you'll see like kind of like a seam on it, and I like to cut it down that seam and then you flip it straight around, leaving your knife on it. Keep your fingers out of the way, and then you just kind of give it a little twist and pull the halves apart, and then you've got this little seed, plum seed right here. Nice. I'm going to save those. And then you just take them just like that in halves and you toss them in your pot. And it says to add 2.5 pounds of plums. So if you have a little scale, you can weigh them out. 4 cups of water and 4 cups of sugar and 1 cup of water. I use less sugar because I try to cut back on my sugar. Anyway, so then it's in here, right? And you turn it on. You've got your 2.5 pounds of plums, 4 cups of sugar, and 1 cup of water. And you can use, if you have an immersion blender, I just used it, and blend it up so it's a nice saucy consistency. I don't know if I can, I'm going to try to see if I can show you. There's no clumps or anything in it. You can use, I'll show you some other ideas that you can use to blend it up. You can use like a regular blender if you have one. Whatever type of blender that you have, you just want to try to get it smooth. I have one of these that can work too. The immersion blender works well for me. This one's actually pretty cheap and it gets heated up fast, so I'm looking for a better model. Anyways, yeah. So you just put all that into a pot or a kettle, and you just, I'm gonna mix this up real quick. You just kind of go up and down. You don't want to look at my arm, do you? And that's what you do. Like I said, I already pre-did this. All right, I'm going to put this in the sink real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to can this up into jars. I washed my jars with soap. You're going to use hot soap and hot water. Wash your jars really well in the sink. Rinse really well. And you're going to check the rims of your jars to make sure that there's no chips or cracks. And that's important so that you can get a good seal on the foods that you're preserving. So hold on a second and let me get my jars all set up. Actually, never mind, just stay with me. I've got jars that I already washed with soap and rinsed well in this pot with water, keeping them warm. And then I'll just set the stuff aside, get rid of this and this. All right. So be careful when you pull your jars out of the hot water as you're waiting for everything to get nice and warm. So you put your jar down, and then you're going to want to use a funnel. And I would recommend getting a couple of funnels to use and some sort of a ladle. And it says on the recipe that you want to fill the jars with hot, and this is hot, 180 degrees is what it's saying, but not boiling. 220. So 220 is the temperature that this should be, which it is, because it helps get it thicker. And then when you fill your jars, you can use whatever jelly jar you want. You can use quarter pints or half pints, or bigger if you want. Just make sure you do the right amount of time in your canner. It takes 15 minutes once the water is boiling in my Waterbath canner. I'm trying, 1 inch headspace. The 1 inch headspace is that first line right there. And if you have a little measuring tool, let me get that so you guys know what it is. In most areas at the store that have canning supplies, they'll have something like this. And it's got measurements marked on here. And you'll want to do 1 inch headspace. Yeah. So anyway, so the first line on your jar is the 1 inch headspace. You want to go up to that when you fill your jars. Let's see if I can get it to where you can see it. Okay, there we go. And then you're gonna wanna take a piece of paper towel and some vinegar. I always use vinegar to clean the rims of my jars after I put the product in. And you're gonna wanna go around the rim and clean off any stickiness or any of the fruits or whatever that would get on the lid. Because then that'll make sure that your seal is good. And then I have my brand new lids and some warm water sitting here waiting to get on. This is so I don't get my fingers on the rim of the lid. This is kind of like a little magnet that you can find in the canning areas. And then we're gonna put the ring on, finger tight. And I'm gonna do all my jars like that. And then I have a different oven that I bought at a resale store for $7 because my kettle's too big to fit in my kitchen, plus I have a glass top. I'll take you in there and I'll show you me setting in them. But while this is waiting while I fill my jars, I'm gonna set it back into the pot right here that has warm water in it, and I'm gonna set that in there until I'm ready to take it to my pressure canner, or sorry, my Waterbath canner. All right, I'll be back once we get to that point. Okay, so the jars with plum sauce are in, or plum jam, sorry, are in the Waterbath canner. You can use any type of a kettle that you want, as long as you have some kind of a rack underneath the jars. If you don't have a rack, sometimes you can use like a washcloth on the bottom. You just don't want the jars touching the very bottom of the canner. And then I'm gonna add some water to it because you want to have a 1 inch headspace above that. Let me get you guys set up so I can grab the water. I know it's a little wobbly. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pour water, and when you pour, if you have to put more water in your canner, don't directly pour right on top of the lid because it might make a false seal. A false seal means it doesn't properly seal. And when you add your water, you're going to want to go over the top of the lids 1 inch at least over the top of the lids. And a good way to tell is the first bend in your finger will be approximately 1 inch space over the top of your lids. When you're canning, you can also do a second layer, and so you'd put another rack on top of the jars that are in here and put your other layer of jars, but making sure that you have the water over 1 inch over the lids. So the most important thing to remember when water bath canning is that your jars are clean, there's no nicks around the rims of your jar, and that you're using new lids on there. I think that's about, and make sure they're cleaned with vinegar. Some people may just use water, but I like vinegar because it kind of breaks down and disinfects things more. So for this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring it up to a heavy boil. And once it starts boiling, I'm gonna set my timer for 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, I'll turn my stove off and let them sit for a bit and then take them out. And that's it, 15 minutes after it starts boiling. So that's pretty easy, huh? That's some plum jam. I hope this helps someone. Have a great day.